no.
What,
So,
what happened? Are you complaining with the length of your hair? Is that the issue?
I mean, if we're going to get into it, we could talk about that. But
I'm
Pete,
digging the Conan look, but what happened, man? What happened?
it seems that I've made a bad investment, and I'm not an investments guy. That's not my game.
Okay.
But
What?
I've made a bad. I feel like I've messed up. I've not done well. So I had some stuff, and I sold it.
Okay.
And I sold it for and I don't want to try and impress you. I sold it for $4 billion.
$4 billion.
You wouldn't know that based on this nice studio that I have. I sold it for $4 billion.
Yeah.
And everyone has told me how foolish I was, the mistakes I've made. Yeah. Some of that I sold was like stocks, and the stocks that I got out of the sale has made me $10 billion. But apparently that's bad. Everyone keeps telling me I've ruined it. Yeah. Everything's bad on top. And that's just part of it. Like, I'm pretty sure I've made more than that. But Pete, everyone says I'm a failure and I've ruined my life and these investments are bad.
I feel like you might be getting yourself confused with George Lucas right now.
Is that what happened?
It could be. Disney has said that they've made a 12 billion. No, was it? Was it 12 billion on their 4 billion that they got from him? So
well,
but you know what? We'll dig into that and 100 other things tonight on ATGLive. Well, welcome to ATGLive, your Thursday night home for everything Star Wars news, conversations, guests like Tommy Stella tonight. Stella! I had to say it. I had to do it.
Stella. And it's not Tommy Stella, the baseball player. So
Tommy
any of you
Stella,
sports guys, it's not Tommy Stella, the baseball player, for any of you sports ball guys hanging out. This is Tommy Stella, the comic books international Twitter sensation.
Yeah, when I was doing the thumbnails for this week. Oh wait, no, when I was having our crew of creatives working on the thumbnail, every time I looked up Tommy Stella, I kept finding this baseball player, and it was not him. Yep. I knew it wasn't him.
Not him.
But I'm Pete Flitzer. I'm joined by my co-host and good friend Nick Milkey. Nick, how's it going? I'm glad that you didn't lose $4 billion. I mean, unless you did, and if that's the case, I hope you have some left over. But
if that's the case, I probably wouldn't be here tonight. I'd be dealing with some other issues. But I'm doing great. I'm excited for tonight. It has been another. I mean, drink when we say it. Cheers to everybody. It's been another week where we thought it's going to be a slow news week, and like halfway through today, we're going maybe this story, maybe that story, like. Star Wars is alive. Star Wars is kicking. I'm excited about it. And every day that we go more and more through new stories and events and all these things are coming up that we're going to talk about.
Yep.
The more I'm excited just to throw my middle fingers in the air to all the people that all they want to do is complain about it.
Yep.
And say, go pound sand, hit the deck. This isn't for you. Go away. Because there's so much fun in Star Wars. And we get to hang out and do this. So
I mean, Star Wars is clearly dead because, as we saw, there was an ATGLive trailer this week. We're going to dig into that, not only from a news perspective, but the Intercepted Transmissions this week is going to be heavily dedicated to the ATGLive. So if you didn't leave us a voicemail and you want to give us your thoughts, make sure to leave them in the comments during the show tonight, because we're going to get to those.
Yes, we have a whole bunch of news stories. We're going to talk about Disney. There's some Disney news. We're going to talk about, upcoming events. We're going to talk about, again, there's just so many things going on in Star Wars. So we're going to get to the news in a few minutes, but as we do every week, we want to hit you at least with a streamlined version of some housekeeping. So Pete, run us through that real quick.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're joining us for the first time because you're like, hey, I like Tommy Stella. And if Tommy's willing to go on this show, it must be pretty cool. I think you're going to have a good time with us tonight. So make sure to hang out, but hit the subscribe button so that you can join us on a weekly basis. We do this every Thursday, and our YouTube feed is full of all kinds of things, including news headlines. We cut out the shows. We put in interviews. It's a very active YouTube thing. You want to be there with us, but make sure to hit subscribe and also hit the little button for the reminder. You can also hit us up on all of our socials. We are on the SSW network on all the socials, but you can also follow Nick at Will's Pod, and you can also follow me at ATGcast if you want to. I'm usually yelling at somebody or complaining about somebody complaining somewhere. And you can also head over to our website, the sswnetwork.com, to not only link to our Patreon program, which lets you in on some special things like free swag and discounts on merch, but you also will get a link when we do our Around the Galaxy and Podcast the Wills, when we interview our celebrity guests, and you'll have a special you-only link that you can use, and it's as little as $3 a month to join us on our Patreon program. We would love that. Nick, we have a voicemail line too, don't we?
We do have a voicemail line, and it's gotten some work this week, which is exciting. We want to hear from you about Bad Batch. We did hear from you a little bit about the Acolyte trailer. So we're going to get to those messages at the end of the show in our intercepted transmission segment. But if you have thoughts about Star Wars, they could be dumb. They could be Matt from Enid cornering people in the grocery store. If you have Star Wars thoughts and you want us to talk about them on the air, give us a call. It's 504-321-1501. Call that number, leave us a voicemail, and we will get to those on the show. We won't get, if you call right now, we're not going to get to them tonight, but we'll get to them next week because we've got to have a little minute to, check them. And this is the magic of TV, kids. We're live and on air right now. But 504-321-1501. Give us a call. Star Wars thoughts, whatever you may have. They may be Zillow Ray related. They may be some other crazy thing. So call us, tell us some things. We want to hear from you.
And if you're in the Northeast, that's 504-321-1501.
We went back and forth last week after the show about zeros and O's, but we won't get into that right now.
We are. But we do have so much going on tonight. Make sure to leave your comments in the chat so we can go through them at the end of the show. We have Tommy Stella coming up right after the news. So if you're a fan of his, even if you're not, you're going to want to. How could you not be? Tommy is, as you said, he's an internet sensation. So make sure to hang out with us there. Tommy will be joining us after the news. But first, we're going to hit our first break of the night. And then when we come back, we're going to hit the headlines. So we'll be back with more ATG Live. Well, thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. This is ATG Live, the place to be on Thursday nights. If you want to talk about Star Wars, if you want to get all the news, you want to share your thoughts, you want to hear some of the greatest guests. And Nick, this is no joke. We have a guest list over the next month, which will blow your socks off. And it continues tonight with Tommy Stella, who's going to be joining us shortly right after the news. But first, let's get to that news. Lloyd, do that thing you do. Hit the news bumper, please. Well, we got our very first look at the new Disney Plus series, The Acolyte, this week. In early 2023 at Star Wars Celebration, Star Wars fans were given a brief look at the new Star Wars series on Disney Plus called The Acolyte. The sneak peek was not shared with anyone who was not in the room for the panel. However, on Monday of this week, the first official one-sheet dropped, followed closely by a 90-second trailer on Tuesday. The trailer does a nice job of remaining vague enough on the story points, but gives us first looks at lead characters played by Amanda Stenberg, Carrie Ann Moss, Lee Young-jae, and Jodie Turner-Smith. Showrunner Leslie Headland told the Star Wars .com website that the quote that she gave I thought was fantastic. She said, "Whatever you think the Acolyte is, it is not that. It's a drop in the bucket, baby. Just hang in there and check it out." The Acolyte will drop on June 4th, only on Disney Plus, with a 2-episode premiere, and we'll be getting into your thoughts later on in Intercepted Transmissions. But Nick, I know we're gonna dig into this trailer a bit later, and there's a lot of initial thoughts, but I want to talk about how the fans reacted and what that fan reaction has been. First of all, it broke all records for Star Wars show trailers on YouTube, and as of about an hour or two ago, is up near 8 million views. But of course, it's been reviewed bombed by in the comments and the downvotes by the Fandom Menace basement dwellers for a few reasons. Number one, they claim it's going to break canon. Before they've seen a minute of the show, they're claiming
don't know anything about it.
Right, know nothing about it, but there was a red lightsaber, and hey, if there's red lightsabers, that means that they're Sith, and if they're Sith, that means that Ki-Adi-Mundi was wrong when he said
everyone has to die,
right,
in order for it to not break canon. That was the quote
from Star Wars Theory, right? All these Jedi have to die. Which is a common theme from his takes. But again, the show hasn't even had a chance. And we'll probably talk about it later, but there's so many opportunities to make that connection. And second, because of the incredibly diverse cast. And I said earlier today on TikTok, and I'll say it again here, if you watch that trailer and the only thing that you noticed was an abundance of a lack of white males, then that's a you problem. It is a fantastic, and honestly, I'm gonna sound arrogant or holier than thou or whatever, but I did not even pick up on it. I was excited to see all these things going on. The sort of martial arts Star Wars, we were getting the murder mystery Star Wars, the Jedi freaking temple from the Phantom Menace is there. Everything we want in a Star Wars was in that trailer. There's nothing to complain about. What did you pick up on the trailer? What was your first sort of initial reaction? And did you pick up on the lack of white men in this?
I didn't. Surprisingly enough, being a white man myself, there was no part of me. It was like, I can't believe I'm not in this. Like that never crossed my mind. What I did pick up on, and this is the part where I have to be careful over the next however many months, not to try and make this my entire personality. Carrie-Anne Moss, Trinity from the Matrix, she's so cool. I'm trying not to turn this into a Garza Fwip situation where I just fall in love with another Star Wars character that, 2 episodes in, he's going to end up going away. I don't know, because none of us know anything about this.
Right.
What I know is I'm excited. Previously, if we're going 1 to 10, I was at a 4 or 5 with this show, simply because I don't know anything about it.
Yep.
I don't know the High Republic. I know enough to go, yeah, that's a High Republic thing, but I haven't read it. I'm not conversant. I am full on excited. Seeing that trailer pushed me over the edge to go, this is something I really want to get into. And the martial arts of it all, the detective story of it, the intrigue, what it's going to be like. I'm completely on board and ready for let's go. And I'm excited to just enjoy it. I'm not coming in with expectations. I'm ready to enjoy the show.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think you're right. I mean, this is unlike Kenobi and even to a degree Mando. And of course with Ahsoka, I had it written in my head and I was wrong, which was great. But in this case, I'm literally like you kind of coming into this with no expectations. And this is the first time this has happened since Force Awakens, where I had no preconceived notions about what this should be. So really looking forward to seeing what we're going to get from the Acolyte. And we're going to get into it more in just a little bit when we hit the Intercepted Transmissions. We got some voicemails from you guys, and we are going to watch your comments. We want to talk a bit about this. If we go a little long tonight, well, who can blame us? We got a new Star Wars trailer. But
without a doubt,
Nick, we got more news.
But there's more happening. That's right. George Lucas speaks up for Bob Iger. George Lucas, creator of Star Wars. I think we've heard of him.
I've heard that name, yes.
Behind Bob Iger, the CEO of Walt Disney Company, in the battle for control over Disney's board of directors. Nelson Peltz and his Trian partners have been vying for board seats, gathering support, including former Marvel CEO Ike Perlmutter, while Iger has rallied his own allies. Lucas, a significant Disney shareholder, and if I'm not mistaken, as we talked about at the top of the show, the largest individual stakeholder in the Disney company is George Lucas. Since selling Lucasfilm in 2012, he has endorsed Bob Iger's leadership, citing his confidence in Disney's future under Iger's guidance. Lucas said, quote, "Creating magic is not for amateurs. When I sold Lucasfilm just over a decade ago, I was delighted to become a Disney shareholder because of my longtime admiration for its iconic brand and Bob Iger's leadership. Despite past disagreements, including over the direction of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, Lucas favors Iger's approach over potentially destabilizing changes proposed by Peltz and his allies. This move aligns Lucas with other Disney stakeholders, including Walt Disney's family themselves, in support of Iger's leadership amid this ongoing power struggle." So here's the thing. George Lucas has been playing chess while all of our sweaty, not my Star Wars people have been playing tiddlywinks.
Yeah, for sure.
He got it from the beginning. He sold, he had stock options. Of course, it wasn't $4 billion in cash. It was $1.8 billion in cash, which, I mean, I guess if you have to take it, whatever.
Well, I guess,
deal with it.
Find a way to spend it.
And that money has worked for him. At this point, he has reportedly made $10 billion just off that stock alone.
Jeez.
He's the largest individual shareholder in the Walt Disney Company. He has 37 million shares. And he, for many years before any of this, before the sale, has been an outspoken admirer of Walt Disney and the Disney Company.
Yep.
We've heard it talked about in interviews, years and years and years ago. It seems to me at this point, George has transitioned from a Jedi Council member into being like a Jedi Temple Guard. He's here to protect both his legacy and the larger one of the Walt Disney Company at the same time, which I love. It makes sense for a guy. He's opening a museum that is focused on narrative art.
Yep.
Disney does narrative art. So my question to you, Pete, is are you buying or selling George in the role of a protector of the Walt Disney Company?
I think at the end of the day, George made...
I've lost you. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. Hang on a second.
Something happened.
Where is it?
I hear no Pete. Oh,
how about that?
There we go.
All right, there we go. Freaking technology, man! I'll tell you. No, I think George is at the end of the day, George is trying to protect his legacy. I think he thought long and hard about what he was going to do when it comes to selling Star Wars, selling the name, selling his legacy. And look, we all have our opinions on Bob Iger for the most part. I mean, I think he really sold himself short with the during the actors strike and the writer's strike. It was he said some really crappy things. However, he's a shrewd businessman. He recognizes his legacy is at stake as well. And look, these two guys between George Lucas, Bob Iger, I'll throw Kathleen Kennedy's name in the mix. These are the people that have built our childhood, who have built the films that have made our lives, enriched our lives. So, hey, do what you got to do. Be a part of it. And I support it 100%.
Yeah. Outstanding. Sorry, it turns out that my Siri activated itself and it cut your audio feed. And it was actually doing like dictation on the other screen over here. So that's why I couldn't.
That's nice.
So,
that's nice.
My fault.
Hey, so I'll make sure not to say anything that sounds anything like the SIR.
Right. Don't activate our friendly assistant.
Okay, well, great. Well, the next story is the man inside the Mando speaks about movie and season 4. Brendan Wayne, grandson, I believe, of the late John Wayne, stunt double for The Mandalorian, addressed rumors surrounding a potential 4th season and Pedro Pascal's involvement in the upcoming movie adaptation of the series called Mandalorian and Grogu. While Wayne initially expressed uncertainty about a season 4, he did clarify that he's not privy to such discussions and believes decisions rest with Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and the Disney executives. Of course, he emphasized the importance of the series as a cornerstone of Disney Plus, hinting at the likelihood of a new season. Regarding Pascal's role, Wayne dismissed doubts, stating it's natural for actors to balance multiple projects and that scheduling conflicts can be managed. Pascal's voice role in the movie has been confirmed, but his physical presence remains uncertain due to his other commitments. The Mandalorian and Grogu is set to begin filming in California with a speculated release date of May 2026, though further details may emerge later. Here's my take. Pedro Pascal will appear without the helmet in The Mandalorian and Grogu. You can book it, you can print it, you can commit to that. And to be fair, he is about to start shooting Fantastic Four, which I'm just hopeful that they can make a good Fantastic Four movie. He has the lead role in the film, and it's supposed to be shot around the same time as Mando and Grogu, but all he's got to do is set aside a week. He can shoot his pickup scenes without the helmet. He can record all his dialogue. Honestly, Pedro Pascal probably has the best and easiest gig in all of Hollywood right now. It's you know, everybody loves him. Everybody wants to see him in everything he does. And all he has to do is, show up, do the voice, and then do a scene where he gently takes off his helmet and peers over at Grogu, and he's breaking hearts. So I think he's in it. I don't think it's an issue whatsoever. But I'm not sure about season 4. What are your thoughts on that?
Here's what I think. I think I agree with you. If we get a movie, if we get the big screen, we're going to see that big handsome face on that big screen.
Right.
I think if we get a season 4, that's straight helmet on. I'm still trying to figure out how to not be an apostate. I think that's the trade-off. If we're going to get a season 4 and a movie, we're going to get a season 4 where the helmet's on, and Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder and all these guys who work so hard under that costume are going to continue to be awesome and do what they're doing. And then Pedro's going to record the voice, and he can do that from his house. He can come in and do, like you said, a week of pickups in the studio, whatever it takes. But I think that's where the trade-off is. I think if we get him on the big screen in a movie, you're going to, that's a handsome mug, whether it's The Last of Us, whether it's Fantastic Four, whether it's, the movie with Nick Cage or whatever else it is. Like, you want to see that guy. And so on a movie screen, let's highlight it. We've put the movie in the spotlight on it. But I think the trade-off is season 4 is helmeted Mando.
I'm going so far as saying we're not getting a season 4. I think it's sort of like the Obi-Wan, the opposite of Book of Boba Fett and opposite of the Obi-Wan story. I think they made a decision. I think Disney decided they needed to get a guaranteed win in the theaters with the Star Wars name on it. Grogu sells stuff easily. Put Grogu on the big screen. Put Mandalorian on the big screen. This is what Star Wars is now to the majority of the population. So do that. Can season 4 and make it into a movie. And honestly,
and they don't have to.
And it makes sense too, because they have all the props. They have, it's the movie is ready to go. The only concern that I have is what it's going to look like. And I think since it's a major motion picture with a budget for 2 hours versus 16 or 8, was it 8 hours? I think we're gonna be in good shape. So
is the movie also the culmination of the Ahsoka story, though? Like, does that draw all those bits together, or is that another thing entirely?
I think the challenge is you have the Filoni movie, which I think is your Ahsoka story. So I think it sets up the Ahsoka story. I would love to see the Mando Grogu movie, just be an adventure of the week. Like, give me just a cool, like.
Well, obviously they ended season 3 set up for that. We're kicked back. We're on the porch. Start of the movie. Oh crap! Something happened. We're getting the band back together. That's all you have to do.
I'm down with that for sure.
Absolutely. Well, we've got one more news story. The entire saga is back in theaters. Lucasfilm announced today, maybe yesterday, but today, a very special event for Star Wars fans on May the 4th. You may have heard of that. Not only is it Podathon 2024, which we'll come back to, but to commemorate the 25th anniversary of Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, fans will have a rare opportunity to experience the entire Skywalker saga in theaters. All 9 episodic films, for those of you keeping score at home, that's going to leave out Rogue One and Solo, presented in chronological order, will be showcased, allowing viewers to trace the iconic arc from The Phantom Menace all the way through the rise of Skywalker. Additionally, attendees will gain an exclusive glimpse into the Acolyte, as we've already discussed, the upcoming Disney Plus series set during the High Republic era. Pete did call that. If you want to bet on NCAA basketball, Pete's your guy.
Check my bracket.
And a limited edition poster, I believe, by Matt Ferguson. If you're not following Matt online and got some of his posters and artwork, you're missing out. Will be distributed to mark the occasion. Tickets are going to be available for purchase starting tomorrow, Friday, March 22nd at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. If I didn't have a better offer that day, which I do, it's called Potathon 2024.
Yep.
We're going to be raising a whole bunch of money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I'm 100% certain I would tell my family to get lost. I'm not to be disturbed for the next 9 movies worth of time. It's so much fun. I love it. I'm a little bummed to miss out, but I do think I have a better offer. But what I'm excited about is this is a special time for the fandom. We've talked about something like Star Wars Celebration where you show up, you hang out, and there's not all the negativity that you find online.
Right.
I think this is going to be that too. I also think this is going to be a good ramp up that's going to start and will culminate at Celebration Japan in 2025. So my question to you, Pete, between May the 4th this year, Celebration in Japan in 25, which we were also learned today that tickets go on sale on May the 2nd. What other fun events or possibilities do you see that Disney Lucasfilm could do in the next 8 to 12 months? We've got shows on the horizon. We've got movies on the horizon. Is this the way to kind of build hype towards the celebration?
Yeah, and I think it's fan goodwill, and I think it's first of all, I'm glad we are doing Potathon because look, I love the Star Wars movies. But I can't sit for 19, 20 hours watching my favorite movivies. I'm old.
We could be like the crazy astronaut lady. We could just get Depends and just ride it out.
Oh my God. No. But I think between doing this, I think setting the Acolyte up with it makes so much sense. And I think, and we'll talk about this when we talk about the Acolyte a little bit later, but I think it's also Disney is doing a nice job now of actually engaging the fans again, setting expectations, putting things together from that perspective. I'm not sure what else they could do. They're definitely on the way. They're definitely on their way to putting action figures out when they announce series. I mean, we saw that this week. So it's
now
like
you're going to get them next year, but at least they announced.
Right, you'll get them after the series has ended and you've forgotten which ones you ordered, and they show up in which is the best thing in the world when you open up your front door and there's a UPS package and you're like, oh shit, that's right. I heard an action figure back
2 years ago.
You order a helmet and you're still waiting,
Yeah.
But so I think I don't know what else they could do. I mean, I think this is cool. I think this is showing and proving and moving them forward toward much more. We talked about it with I guess it was with Brandon a couple of weeks ago about how it's so cool that Star Wars is engaging people, and we love seeing that. So
I agree, and I think we have seen, and we've talked about this a year or so ago, there has been a noticeable transition over the last 3 years. Star Wars social media engages a lot more with the fandom. You see people getting commented on, hearted, starred, tagged, followed. They'll pop up in one of our chats every now and then. Like you're getting some more, because Star Wars is built for and by the fans. Obviously, George Lucas created it, built it, but like the fans are what keep it going. And so having these little moments, the Good Morning America thing that was a couple years ago on May the 4th, you were on that and you asked Dave Filoni a question.
I did.
Being able to do those little things, like that brings the fandom together, and that makes people sit up and go, oh yeah, Star Wars is still around. Star Wars is hanging out. So it's totally fun. Speaking of hanging out, of totally fun, there is a whole bunch of people hanging out and watching with us tonight. A bunch of you are new. This is your first time here. Thank you for being here. We're honored that you have taken some time on this Thursday night to join us. Drop a comment in the chat. Say hello to us. Tell us where you're from. We would love to, track that, keep up with who you are. If you haven't subscribed, jump over and hit that subscribe button while you're watching. We are going to take a very, very quick break. And when we come back, we are going to be joined with internet sensation, Tommy Stella. So we'll be back with more ATG Live.
Well, welcome back to ATG Live, your home for Star Wars on Thursday nights. If you are new and joining us for the first time tonight, thank you so much for checking us out. We are honored if you would join us. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit the little bell. More great stuff is coming up, and like I said, we have a guest list over the next couple of weeks that are booked and ready to go, which are fantastic, including Clayton Sandell, St. Bendy, Ash Crossan, just to name a few. Kelly Knox. So we got some really great people coming up. But speaking of great people, why don't we hit that little thing we do, and let's bring in our first guest, Mr. Tommy Stella. Tommy.
There he is.
Hi. Can you hear me? Is this working?
Yes, we can hear you.
I've been watching you guys, for 30 minutes now, and it feels so weird to be watching a podcast, and then all of a sudden you're like in a podcast. I got so comfortable just watching.
You're like, this is fun. I'll just watch this for. Oh shit! I got to talk.
Oh wait, I'm on now.
No,
they're gonna ask me stuff now. Gosh.
Yeah, all right.
Yep. Well, Tommy, for those that don't know who you are, what you do, and why you're here, maybe give us a little bit of your background and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So as they said, I'm an internet sensation, which is a terrifying thing to live up to. I think I'm an internet worker, an internet guy. Internet nuisance is probably the best way to say it. But I write comics. I tweet things that people like. I just kind of make things exist in the world, not the real world, but like in the fake world in my head, But yeah, and I like Star Wars a lot. I'm adjacent to the franchise. A lot of people know me from that, from my nonsense, from meeting me at Celebration, which was always fun. But yeah, right now I'm mainly focused on writing comic books. Is hopefully what people will know me as.
Absolutely. Well, and like I said, we have said, I call you an internet sensation because you're one of those fun people that like, you're engaging with other people and it's funny. You're engaging with your own thoughts and they're funny. They're witty. Like I have another podcast, is a sports podcast that I've listened to for almost 25 years now. And, smart and funny is his thing. He's like, if you're smart and funny, like that gets the job done. And I feel like that's what I relate to. And when I see that in your tweets, and so, followed you years ago and all that kind of stuff. But you are a Star Wars fan. So I want to do this for a minute. Take us back to the beginning. Where did you first encounter Star Wars? How did it start for you? What's your origin story?
So Phantom Menace came out when I was, I think, 5 or 6. And I was just the pure victim of that marketing campaign. When you go to the toy store when you're a little kid and you just see like.
And let's be honest, it was comprehensive. It was a full marketing campaign.
Yeah, like I can still remember like the layout of the toy aisle for Phantom Menace, and it was like my first memory that I have. Like that's how I know George like sent people in or whatever to like put everything specifically where he wanted it, whatever. But it worked. I think I played with the toys way more than I even watched the movie. I was just like, they were like, here's a sword, you can hit your friends with this and we're not gonna be mad at you, just don't hit them too hard. Like find that nice gentle amount to hit them with and you'll be fine. You're playing the movie. So I think that was the initial start, was like buying a lightsaber. And then from there, the Phantom Menace came out, and 6-year-old me really loved the trade dispute talk. That's a lot of fun. They got a lot going here. This is really cool. I think once the pod race scene hit, I remember being a kid, I think I like gained sentience during the pod racing scene.
There was a moment there where I was like, maybe he really did like the politics when he was 5 years old.
No, I didn't even. I remember like years later when I was like probably like 10 or 12, people joking about the trade and the politics and all that. I was like, that wasn't in the movie. What are you talking about? They were killing each other. They had the pod racer. That's what the movie was about,
That's cool. So you're a writer specifically of comics. But tell us a little bit about how Star Wars, again, so it's interesting because Phantom Menace is getting the big re-release for the 25th anniversary. But how did the Phantom Menace kind of influence what you're doing and what sort of did it drive you? The question kind of we ask a lot of our guests is, did Star Wars influence you to go to where you did, and what was the path? Because sometimes it's not like, well, I saw Star Wars, I decided to be a writer. It's I saw Star Wars, I got into this, and then I did that, and then I did this, and hey, I'm back to Star Wars. So what's that story look like?
Yeah, I think I would credit like Phantom Menace with kind of like exploding my imagination, which directly led into this. That's why I first learned what Star Wars was during that whole push. And then my family went to Disney World like all the time. So then I would go there and I would experience it in that kind of way. And I think with like Star Tours, which is the Star Tours, like being fully surrounded by this story and by like this world that I just learned about. I think specifically like Star Tours like felt a little bit more concrete than a lot of the other rides that were there. Like you were really fully encapsulated in it.
Yeah.
I just like made me think like I was like, oh, I want this forever. Like what else is there for this? And then I was like, oh, there's 3 other movies. That's cool. Let me go watch those.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that like that desire for like escapism and for all these fictional stories led into my love for just creativity and just wanting to make things. You know, it was never necessarily even about storytelling. It was just about like letting people get lost in a different world for a little bit. And yeah, I think I can thank the Toys R Us Phantom Menace aisle for that one.
and so if you were given the chance, if you could write a Star Wars story, what era would you write it in, and what kind of story would you want to tell?
I mean, like part of me wants to do something small just because I think with the smaller characters you get a little bit more freedom.
Yeah.
Like I you know, obviously I want to say like Droopy McCool right now because that's my whole thing. But really just like any character that I can like take on some kind of journey that means something. So I don't necessarily need to write like a Han Solo or a Luke Skywalker. I would just want to write someone who, you know, you get to play with their action figure a little bit more. Maybe it doesn't need to go back in the box afterwards. It could be left in the sandbox or something like that. But I'm still gonna say Droopy McCool. I'm gonna go with that.
Well, and that's the perfect transition because obviously you are, you know, you're a love of funny side characters, Droopy McCool, all the other ones. The question I wrote, and this is my own personal agenda, I was going to say, some people call them a glupshido. I was going to say, who is the best one and why is it Goal, the licking Jedi monster from Return of the Jedi that's on the ceiling of Jabba's palace?
Yeah.
So if we take Droopy off the table, who are your other favorite weird somebody else's in Star Wars?
It's a shame we have to take Droopy off the table, but I think
what's he doing on the table in the first place? I think is a better question.
That's right.
He's on the table. He's playing music. He's doing a little solo. I think like a Nubs is obviously a good one. That's someone I don't know how I got associated with Nubs, but I am. That just kind of happened. I like another, like if I had a second option of like what to write for Star Wars, actually, this isn't just like a little bit, like I do like Star Tours a lot. I think a comic series for that would be really cool. So obviously like Captain Rex would be like the main focus of it in some way, shape or form. But I always just love those like side Star Wars things, like the little, like I'm a victim of marketing. So like anytime they do like a video game or just a side story, like it's all I care about. I think like a Star Tours comic series would be really cool to do, with Rex in charge. So yeah, I think Rex is actually my different answer.
I like that, and I love Star Tours. I'm sorry, Pete.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, that's another one of those ones that, like, as a kid who grew up in the 80s and, you know, when Star Tours came out in the late 80s, early 90s and became a thing, like even now, I spend way too much time on eBay in my own Brandon Winerdy looking at all the old, you know, Star Tours merchandise and posters and things that I'm going, I need that in my life, but I can't make unsound financial decisions in order to claim them.
No, you can. It's fine.
That's what being a Star Wars fan is all about.
Kids don't need food. It's fine.
But you know, it's interesting because I wonder if with all the Star Wars, and this, you know, on the one hand, it's fantastic and amazing and wild that between comic books and novels and television shows, we have backstories and on all kinds of characters. But, you know, between Phantom Menace and the original trilogy, and of course the prequel trilogy, there was always all these characters that we got to love and create our own stories for them. And I wonder if that's still a thing, if that's still, you know, because there are so many stories out there being told. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole from a certain point of view kind of like started to tackle that, but I think we can go deeper. I think we got to go from like an even more certain point of view. I've always, like, when I remember learning that you know, there are the characters and then there's the characters behind them. And like I think a bit of like Star Wars trivia for like the common person back in the day was like every single one of them has a name and every single one of them has a backstory. They went crazy with that. Like, whoa, that's so wild. Like I think that's probably the best part about it. And I think it'd be really cool to just give every single one of them like a little bit more than just an encyclopedia page. I just think there's so many like little nifty details that you can kind of just add on to, and you know, like the cool thing about Star Wars is that it mirrors our own world so much, and just like specifically like hopes, dreams, expectations, you know, all that. And I think giving those to the people who aren't saving the galaxy, just the everyday people in the background, is like a really cool opportunity to show that, you know, even if you're not blowing up the Death Star, maybe you're just going to work, you can still have like a cool little like personal story.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's part of a lot of the stuff that I think Disney Plus gives us that opportunity to learn some of these stories. Wikipedia has been, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to Wikipedia in my life. But you heard us talk a little bit about it at the top of the show, and we're going to get into it a little bit more. But the Talking Star Wars here is asking this question. This was also on my list for you. The trailer dropped. What's your initial reaction? What are your thoughts on the show? What are you excited about? What are your big predictions? And yeah, where do you come out on the Acolyte era that we're living in now?
I mean, it's a crying shame that there's no white guys in it. That's the
if only Star Wars at some point had white guys in it.
There's not a guy with brown hair that I can attach myself to. I don't know what action figure am I going to buy. You know,
I mean,
no one's going to want to. I don't have a role to play at recess. I'm so.
I just don't think I can relate to this anymore. I'm going to have to go. I'll see y'all later.
Star Wars has moved beyond me.
I have to be a girl. No, my like best and worst quality as someone who takes in entertainment is that I get bored very easily. I don't think things are bad easily. I just get bored easily, and like I see a lot of tropes and things like that. And that's true for like every thing that comes out, like every IP, every franchise, and all that. And I think Acolyte is like one of the first things Star Wars has done in a bit where I'm just like, I don't know what this is. This is like completely out of left field. You know, it's cool that they're doing a different time period. Obviously it's like shoehorned in between two very known time periods right now, but like it's like perfectly in between that anything could happen. And I think that's exciting. I'm ready to not know what's going to happen next week because there's no like place they have to get to by the end of it. You know? So yeah, I think it looks incredible. I was in the room last year for Celebration for the High Republic panel when they showed it, and just like it was the crazy. I went to the Taylor Swift Eras tour, and it was comparable to that. Like people were just freaking out, and it was wonderful.
Wow, and you're a big High Republic fan.
Oh yeah.
See, and I'm curious because as Nick and I have readily admitted, we're not hugely into it just simply because you got to draw the line somewhere, and it's not that I started listening to, and I'm about 3/4 of the way through the first book. Charles wrote it. Charles Soule, I believe, wrote it, right? So, fantastic book. But man, what I love about it, and I'm hopeful in the show, and again, we'll get into it a little bit more later on the show too, but I'm hopeful that anything can happen. And I think you're right about that. The fact that it's not Skywalker Saga. Like, we knew Anakin was not going to die. We knew Obi-Wan was not going to die. We knew the Emperor was going to survive. We were pretty sure that Padme might not make it. So in this case, is Carrie Ann Moss going to make it past the first 20 minutes? We don't know. We just don't know. So, and I love that. And I think that's what makes shows like Game of Thrones so good, is that it doesn't matter who's starring, doesn't matter how big of a role they are or actor they are. The fact that anything can happen, and again, it doesn't need to be deaths, but just that their story can go in any direction, we're not held to it, is huge. So, that's where I'm at on that as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's why they market the High Republic as everyone's dying in this, because everyone can die. I think there's not that many. I mean, there's a ton of deaths in the High Republic, but like there's still 1 billion characters left. But it's more enticing that at any moment, one of these beloved characters, and they're all beloved. That's a big priority for them, is to make every single character really fun. They could just explode, and I think that's really it's grim, but it's fun, you know?
Yeah, literally explode. They get
And at the opening of Light of the Jedi is like half the people in the book die immediately. It's a lot of fun.
Yay!
For sure. And we do have a question from the chat. I want to bring this one up because we did talk about Glup Shitos. We have a good friend of the show, Eric Elliott. He asks the question, does Chami appreciate Claude and his contribution to saving the galaxy? This is important for Eric.
I think so. I like his gay cousin from Jedi Survivor a bit more. I think that was the same species, right? The other one. But yeah, he's cool. I'm happy for him. I think he could have done a little bit more, you know. But also, I think if they should have gave him a little bit more responsibility. I think if Claude was there from The Force Awakens, I think Kylo would have been murdered immediately, you know.
Yeah, I mean, let's get it out of the way. You can't fight the power of Claude, right?
Claude doesn't show weakness, and I think that's what's really important. Is that he's a strategist, and he just goes in for the kill. So I do appreciate him.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
He's worked smarter, not harder, right?
Yeah.
I have so much appreciation for the fact that he was making repairs on the Falcon without a single hand.
True. I like him. He just kind of slithers by it in the slime.
Yeah, just taking care of things.
I'm not afraid to see him move at all, to be honest.
Maybe they pick him up and move him where they need to put him. Okay, Claude, we're going over outside now. You're coming with us.
Yeah. Well, Tommy, we've talked about how you're a comic book writer. We want to get into your work, the things that you've got going on. You have several comic books out. You have a Kickstarter that I know that is going on. I know I read recently, certainly in preparation for you coming on, I will admit that before I was like, oh yeah, I need to get to that. And I never did. But when you were coming, I downloaded and read The Days, which was fantastic. I really enjoyed that.
Good. Yep.
I love I love the connection to, it deals with grief and it talks about real life things that, are key and important. But tell us about your comic book work. Tell us about the stuff you've got out, the Kickstarter, what all you've got going on.
Yeah, this is the part I'm always bad at. So right now we're kickstarting a series called Mustn't Tell. It's a 5 issues, all ages horror story. Right now the Kickstarter is for issues 1 and 2. It's basically it's like a kind of a classic horror story. It's kind of comparable to like Stranger Things, but set in like the mid 2000s. There's 2 best friends named Ryan and Jake, and most of the story is just them trying to kill a monster that's haunting Ryan's house. It's full of like a ton of jokes. I'm kind of calling it like, what if Disney made an animated horror movie? Because there's a lot of like emotional beats. There's a lot of like things that tie into like mental health and anxiety. And yeah, it's my first ever Kickstarter, and it's been an absolutely insane experience. It's fully funded, which is cool, but now we're trying to get to the stretch goals and all that, which is a whole nother beast. But it's on there, and it's a lot of fun. And I think if like people aren't super used to comic books, like maybe they're more of like TV show, movie people, it's a really good spot to get into comics. It's going to be a very like accessible kind of story. You don't need to know anything to go into it. It is what it is.
I think that's what I loved about The Days, which was, I was worried when I first started reading. I was like, am I gonna have to read 3 or 4 of these? But no, there's a complete story, and I want more. And it was, and I think you're right. I think that gives you a Kickstarter and these sort of independent comics. It's very similar to the independent music scene, right? In that if I like that band, or if I like that writer or that artist, I can and I think this is part of your social media presence as well, is people love what you're doing and you engage. We talked a little bit about it before we brought you on, about how Star Wars is doing that now with their fans. They're engaging, and people start to see that. Yeah, I could see, this sounds kind of corny and weird, but I could see your personality in The Days when I read it, and I'm looking forward to seeing that in Mustn't Tell. And I haven't read the Garf story yet, though, but I'm afraid to, because it just seems like it's gonna shatter me.
It's definitely a priority for me to like make myself accessible. I think that's kind of like the modern day creative person, is someone that I think it's just what we're used to with social media and stuff. Like, I think beyond just your works, like just knowing the person that's creating it is like a bonus kind of thing to the whole experience. Like a lot of the younger generation, who is what I'm aiming a lot of my stories at, they're used to influencers and social media and all that.
Right.
So when I do stories, it's both like a part of me that I'm sharing with you, but also hopefully a really fun story. So yeah, so it's nice that you noticed that, because it is a big priority to like be accessible for me.
And how long does it take you to develop these stories? And do you prefer writing in this sort of one-off contained story, or do you have visions of wanting to create sort of an ongoing serialized story?
Hmm. I mean, as far as that goes, it's like I like the one shots because I get to like do a beginning, middle, and end.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the scary things of comics is that they're expected to go on forever. You know,
Right.
when you're writing like a Spider-Man, the goal is to write a billion Spider-Man comics.
Right.
And my brain doesn't really work in that kind of way. Like I would get bored myself writing, just the same thing over and over again.
Right.
So when I go into a story, like if I don't have the ending, I don't really like starting it. So something like Must and Tell is my first like full series kind of thing. I mean, when I first did the one shots, it was mainly just because when you're starting off as a comic writer, it's really hard to keep artists because they're also starting off as an artist.
Mm.
And writing comics is very easy. Once you have the idea, you can do a script in like a few days, whereas the art takes like a month on average. So I did the one shots as kind of like a way to do a begin, a middle, and end, retain the artist, kind of just like tell a full story, say this is what I'm capable of, without having to like worry about like an unresolved cliffhanger or something like that. So a Must and Tell, it's still a 5 issues is still relatively short in the comic world, but I got to like kind of expand on the characters while still like knowing what the ending's going to be and not have that like weird mystery kind of period where things just kind of float through and there's like filler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so cool. And I love that you can pour, that individual personality into it. Like we said, whether it's a Garf story, whether it's, whatever it is, like you get to not only put yourself into that art that obviously you've created, but then you get to put it out there in the world. And when we read it and we know your presence, we go, oh yeah, that's Tommy. Like I feel, your presence is imbued into the things that you create. And I think that's really something that's special that artists get to do. Mm-hmm. And, as someone who's not an artist, I'm jealous of that. So thank you for putting that out into the world. Thank you for being willing to be vulnerable to share stories, whether it's grief, because we don't know, that could be connected to your life. That could be connected to someone personal that you know. And I think those are powerful moments that we love. We had that conversation with Ethan Sachs, and he told the story about his daughter and the difficult times they went through, which led to a story that he told. So that's the power in, certainly narrative art, as we said at the top of the show, and you're a key part and a player in that. So thank you for sharing that with us. More importantly, thank you for hanging out with the two of us tonight. Thank you for coming by, spending some time. This has been a ton of fun. Before we get you out of here, tell everybody where they can find you, how they can follow you, where they can get your comics, read it, all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. It's Tommy_Stella. That's where I'm most active because I can't quit that website. It's a horrible curse. I'm on Instagram at Tommy_Stella because I wanted to make it more complicated. And then I'm on TikTok as just Tommy Stella no underscores. So I just figure it out. You'll be fine.
Right. You had a choice. Do you go 3 underscores or none on TikTok? You had like which direction?
I would let you go no underscores from the get-go. But there's always someone who took the straight up name. But I got in on TikTok early enough.
It was that baseball player, wasn't it?
I think it might have been. No. He gets to have. He has a whole like middle part of his name that he gets to have, and like that's sacred. But he still takes all my Google results, which is such crying.
That's right.
So on there, find me on there. I make the jokes. Right now, the Kickstarter is the best place to get all of my comics, or at least the more recent ones. I don't have everything on there. If you go on Kickstarter, it's on my Twitter and all that, but. Must and Tell on Kickstarter. You can back it there. We got a bunch of cool perks that you can get. You can get like sketches. You can get my old comics as well in physical copy. We're hitting a stretch goal. If we get to 5,250, everyone gets 2 trading cards added onto their order for free. So hopefully we get to that. That'd be really cool. We're only like 200 away, which would be really great.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm in those places. Twitter is the main one. Is the takeaway.
Very, very cool. Well, we can't thank you enough for hanging out with us tonight. And to everybody else that's hanging out and watching, thank you also for being here. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with your messages and your voicemails for intercepted transmissions. So we will be right back with more ATG Live.
I just received my copy of the Return of the Jedi Visual Archive written by Clayton Sandell, Kelly Knox, and S.T. Bendy. Let me walk you through it. It is amazing.
It's pretty heavy, and it clocks in at over 300 pages of beautiful images, beautiful text, and even this sort of book within book concept, which is pretty cool. It's a trap! There's even beautiful recreations of assets used to create the films, like these Polaroids of Endor costumes. The author's research even makes direct connections to things like the Ewok special and modern Star Wars like the sequels, The Mandalorian, and Disney Plus shows. And what's Star Wars without marketing and merch? They got that covered too in the Return of the Jedi Visual Archive. You got to check it out when it hits on April 23rd.
You can order yours right now on Amazon.com. And don't forget, we're going to have Clayton and ST on the show with us talking about this book in just a couple weeks on ATGLive.
We are going to be having them on the show with us. First of all, thank you everybody for hanging out with us. Second of all, I mean, seriously, this book, I gotta put it up here. There's a lot. I mean, we all have a ton of Star Wars books. And I'm not just kissing the butt of Clayton and Kelly and ST. It's so great. Go check it out. Pre-order it, get it as soon as you can. But thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight. We are having a great time tonight. If you are new and you're having a good time, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can hang out with us. Hit the like button too. We don't say that enough, but that helps. Share it, call a friend, call a family member, send a telegram. I don't know, whatever you do these
Carrier
days.
pigeon, whatever you got.
Carrier pigeon. That's a great idea. But why don't we get to our intercepted transmissions for the night and talk a bit about that new show coming out called The Acolyte.
Where are those transmissions you intercepted?
Lloyd, welcome back. It's been a couple weeks. You've been either sick or preoccupied or whatever, but we're
Still
glad you're
sick.
back, man. Still sick.
3
All
weeks
right.
later, I'm like, yeah.
But you were like, damn, it's The Acolyte. I can't miss
Yeah,
this
gotta do
conversation.
Also, how much you want for that book? Because like, I don't want to wait till April.
Dude, it is so good. Well, maybe we'll do like a little Zoom call and I'll walk you through it and I'll read it to you guys a little bit
every night before bed.
Story time.
Story time with Pete.
Yes.
No, seriously, that book. I don't gush about books that I mean, like I've had authors on and friends of the show, and they're good books, but this thing is, and we all know how many people love Return of the Jedi. It's pretty wild. But so Lloyd, before we get to our first call, what was your initial response to this Acolyte thing?
Can I swear?
Of course
You've been on the show before.
Carrie Ann motherfucking Moss. Like, I was so excited. I saw her and I had to do a double take. I was like, there's no way. And then I was like,
It was one of those things. I knew she was in it because I remembered hearing it announced, but I forgot. So when she made that turn, I was like, oh, there she is. There she is.
And I saw a comment earlier, and I'm gonna have to mirror that. Like as soon as she started doing the Matrix moves, I was like, oh yeah. That's early 2000.
And the woman hasn't aged a freaking day.
No.
Like she looks exactly the same. But here's what we can say about that, and it's gonna break Shay's heart. Because I told this to Nick as soon as I saw it. Nick and I kind of went back and forth. I don't think she makes it out of the 2 episodes in the premiere. I think she and Nick and I both agree on this. Nick said it first, but I think she's the Jedi that goes down that starts this.
I said that.
Somebody's killing Jedi. That's what
I think she's going to be the Jedi that's the catalyst.
And somebody pointed out that in the action figure that was released, the hilt that she has looks very similar to the one on the poster with the blood streak. And I know that we're all CSI, Alderaning this, but the reality is I don't know. I hope she doesn't get knocked out early because we love her, but I can totally see that happening. So
I think she will be. But no, overall, I'm really excited for it. I never thought I would see the day like where blue was the least colored lightsaber on screen.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that's a great point.
Yellow lightsabers came on, and I was pumped.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm super excited, and I like you guys. I'm kind of going in with no expectations. Like I don't want to hype myself up and then be disappointed, but I am excited for it. But I'm also cautiously optimistic, I think is the best way to put it.
I think I'm with you on it. So why don't we play Shay's voicemail first, since we're already kind of telling her that it's going to be disappointing. But
yeah, I got you.
Okay, so it's Cheyenne calling from my work's parking lot because I just watched the Acolyte trailer 2 times in a row, just so I can really don't care about Disney Plus shows. I'm like, if they're good, great, I'll watch them whenever. But that trailer, we're getting like Shogun stuff in Star Wars now. And then we need to talk about the most important thing in this trailer. Carrie Ann Moss. I'm going to get my girl in Star Wars. And she's probably going to be just as badass as she was in The Matrix. So I'm actually pretty hyped for this. But, bye.
Yeah,
she gets it. She gets me.
Yeah.
She gets it.
Yeah.
I sent her a GIF the other day. It was like, you complete me.
Yeah, no, I think we saw her point too is, we're getting Shogun, whether it's, just the style of the show. And I'll tell you, so speaking of Shogun, so I started watching the Shogun show, and it occurred to me, it's amazing. I've only watched the first episode, and I know that there's so much more coming. But one of the things that Star Wars doesn't do in its shows, and it's something to think about, so they and I noticed this kind of in the Ahsoka show. I certainly noticed it in Obi-Wan, Book of Boba Fett. I don't know. They rush to get from one point to another, which you don't do in a movie. Shogun, when that first what Emperor, whatever his name is, the land guy, I'm so well versed. When he arrives,
Are you sure you watched this show?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. When he arrives, they make it's like 10-15 minutes of him just like getting off the horse and walking in. And
they really show you who the character is.
But it builds up the importance of it, and I want Star Wars to do that more. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to ever complain about a 36-minute episode or a 42-minute episode, but if you can go an extra 5 minutes by building and producing more, do it. Let's see more of that. And I'm also excited about Leslie Headland from a style perspective. I think we're going to see some different things. Even part of the shots with her with Carrie Ann fighting Amanda Stenberg, it's like shot from low versus the typical sort of straight on. So I'm excited to see how it looks and where it goes from there.
The camera angles are weird.
Yeah,
usually shot from up. You're trying to make that character look powerful,
right? Yeah.
But they
little bit of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Jedi going on here.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Jedi. Awesome. All right, we have a voicemail from somebody who didn't leave their name. I think I know who it is, but I don't want to say it because I don't want to be wrong. So if you're in the chat and we play your call, please identify yourself so we can get you next time. But let's hit this one.
Holy shit. You guys say not to hold back, so I'm not. The Acolyte trailer, oh my god. So many little nuggets in there that just make me so excited about this show. I know there's a lot of speculation going on online, and I know that a lot of people are having little moments of doubt with Ki-Adi-Mundi's dialogue from The Phantom Menace. However, when it boils down to it, the Jedi and their hubris and their honestly borderline arrogance were so caught up in themselves that they did not foresee this coming. And I think that it could happen in a few different ways. For one, and this is the only one I'll say on this voicemail, is I don't think anybody from the Acolyte is going to survive as far as the Jedi are concerned. Honestly, if they're staying true to the canon, like verbatim, I think that nobody survives. And I believe that the Acolyte is the only one that makes it out alive, and that she kind of goes on her own path from there. Anyways, love the show. Love you guys. Thanks for opening up this hotline.
Fantastic.
It's not borderline. It is arrogance. Okay. Like, Yoda was blinded by his arrogance. I'm just saying. Okay.
He was. He absolutely was. And so, all right. So I know it's a ongoing conversation, but who's the acolyte? Who do we think the acolyte is in this case? I have a theory. Basing a theory on a minute and a half is as stupid as not liking a show on a minute and a half. So I can live with that. But you guys have any idea who you think it might be?
I don't have one.
Plagueis.
I straight up don't have one.
Plagueis? You think we're gonna get Plagueis in the show?
I do. So it ends 100 years before the movies, right?
Yeah.
It would put him in a prime position to come into power, then find Palpatine, and then train him, and then kick off the movies.
I don't know. I think
that asks a good question though, because if you're looking at the balance between sweaty nerds and retail Star Wars fans who may have heard of Darth Plagueis because of the opera scene in
or the tragedy
of the Sith, or they read the book, or whatever, like that's a smaller swath. So the question becomes, is that the easiest way to go? This is what leads to what we know in 1, 2, 3. This is what we know. Like, I want to dismiss it because it feels popular and trendy, but it also feels like if you're looking at storytelling that can dig deep and at the same time have the broadest reach, like that also makes a lot of sense to me.
I'm torn. I don't think we'll see him in this season because she has said she wants to do multiple seasons. I think the acolyte is, it feels like it's going to be Amanda Stenberg, but I think it's going to be one of the Jedi that we've seen. And again, it's so wild that we have no idea what to expect here. And I think that's the thing that's pissing me off most about the negativity online is, nothing, Jon Snow, about what's coming. We literally, this is the first time going into Star Wars, as I said at the top of the show, since the Force Awakens, where all I know is that it's a Star Wars and I know who's in it and I know some of the character names. And from that point, who the hell knows? I mean, I think if you do a little bit of detective work on it, you do see some slightly different hairstyles on some of the different characters in the trailer. So, and look, Russian Doll was all over the place as far as storytelling style, and Leslie Headland is brilliant in the way she tells stories. She's got nothing to she's nothing but a fan. So I think we're in really, really great hands with this. So
I will die if we see Dagon Gera. I'm just saying.
But again, so that's the interesting point, though. Like, are we going to see Darth Revan? Are we going to see something like that? I don't know. I think we may get a reference to it. I think Pablo may have sat with her in the story time building and say, "Listen, drop this name, and you'll be good." But
just name drop. You'll have a season out of it.
Yeah, just drop it. You'll get a million YouTube videos made about it. That's all you got to do. But Acolyte wasn't the only thing that came out this week. We had a great episode of The Bad Batch. There is a phone call from our friend Brian that we can play, and let's do a little bit of Bad Batch talk as well. So,
what's up, nerds? Brian. I just want to say, one, I'm really excited to have Tommy on the show. I really am looking forward to watching him. Huge fan of his comics. And secondly, I'm also just calling about this week's Bad Batch. It kind of reached out to me. I don't know about you guys, but the fact that they've come to the realization that Crosshair's shaking hand is actually psychosomatic from the trauma that he's gone through, just showing how not only with this on Crosshair, but in the previous season with Echo, talking how soldiers coming back from war and how that post-traumatic stress does lead into and control how their actions are. The stuff that Crosshair went through on Tantus has given him that, his inability to deal with that mentally has led to that handshake, so he can't do what he's always been trained to do. Whereas on the other side of the spectrum, we had Echo last season, who, because because of all the trauma he's been through, he just can't give it up. When everyone wanted to just lay low, hang out on Pabu, he had to go off with Rex just because he knows he can't stay there and just be in his own thoughts. He needs to have that, operational tempo going at all times because he just can't deal with his PTSD at this point. So I'm really thankful to Jen Corbin and the rest of the writers on this show to bring this to a head in a way that, maybe someone, I know this is an animated kids show. We're all adults here, but we still all watch animated Star Wars. I'm glad that it's a way to bring people in to recognize some of the horrific stuff that, our soldiers or police officers or EMS workers or firemen, the stuff that they've gone through and how it affects them and how eventually that mental stuff can affect you physically. But on a much lighter note, hi Pete, hi Nick, hi Tommy. I hope you guys all have an awesome night, and I'll see you later, dudes. Bye.
Well, there we go. It's an interesting comment. I have to say, and Nick and I were texting about this during the week. The Omega Crosshair relationship and arc is not something I expected at all or predicted, and honestly, it's more powerful than anything in the series so far. And it's, again, brilliant storytelling. People say this about Filoni. We say it all the time. He never wastes a single frame. I mean, if you think about all the way back to season 1, when she was empathetic toward Crosshair when they were all in the prison cell, and it was just these little subtle things. And the development of Crosshair's arc he's really, honestly, he's the only one with an arc, a discernible arc in this series. And it's just being done so beautifully. I absolutely love everything about it.
I didn't expect it. I thought he would have been like, "Nah, I'm good," and then just hauled ass.
I expected him to become like just a pure bad guy, and he's gone, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, I felt like I saw the redemption coming. Like Brian said, the PTSD of it all was not the part that I really, had on my bingo card.
Right.
But I love seeing it because obviously these are people that are creating a show and human beings that come from real world backgrounds. And we talked about it with Tommy and, the days in a comic about grief that probably comes from a real world personal experience. Ethan Sachs and his comic with his daughter, they come like these people that are writing these shows, like somebody in that room has experience with a family member that has PTSD, and it informs that. Yeah, that informs what art is. And I think that's what makes it so special. And even if we don't know it's happening, it's what makes it connect with us when we watch it. And it's fantastic. I love that they can do that again with something that we're supposed to go, oh, it's a cartoon, nobody cares.
Yep.
But it's fantastic.
Yep. Well, cool. Let's we are coming toward the end of the show. Lloyd, what did we get from the chat?
A couple. So a good friend Brian Fennessy says, upon the $12 billion comment, they made their money back just in Grogu merch.
No shit. My God.
Yeah,
I mean,
no question.
We do not talk enough about, maybe we talk too much about, but Grogu, holy cow. I mean, people who don't know Star Wars know Grogu. And I don't think I'm overstepping it to say Grogu is the Darth Vader of this era. Everybody knew Vader in 77 and 80, and everybody knows. They may call him Baby Yoda still, but they know him. They know who he is.
As we sit, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I would say, as we sit on the precipice of Holy Week, we have a Savior, and Grogu be thy name.
Is that the deity that we pray to during Festivus? Like,
exactly.
Perhaps.
But wasn't the 12 billion just like what they made off the park?
No, 12 billion is just what they made off of. I don't know. I'd have to look that up, but
I think it's got to be.
12.
It's got to be.
No, 12 is 12 is just the cinematic films, merchandise, the parks, everything else is on top of that.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I was about to say 12 seems very low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've done all
12
right.
is just the films.
Yeah. All right. And then T.W. McKay also said Star Wars mixed with murder mystery and traditional martial arts. Sign me up. So,
Yeah.
again, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Yoda, you know, and I'm all for it. I'm super excited.
I'm there.
Yeah. And then, I did the thing again.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. All right, cool. Yep. All right. I fixed it.
Oh, no.
Okay, listen. I have the Han Solo one on standby. Yeah. So Cheyenne also said, "I'm so hyped about Acolyte that I might need to move me in by the time the premiere hits, so I can abuse my Disney Plus." Yeah. She doesn't have it. Every time she comes over, we wind up watching something on it. So she has not let me forget how much she's excited about this show.
Well, I'm sure our Disney overlords are very happy that you're not inappropriately using your subscription fee. So I think
Shut the f up.
I had that one on deck, by the way. And then Eric also he made a comment as well. The cope of the angry toxic fans is entertaining, and I got to tell you, when the trailer dropped, I immediately hit Twitter.
Yep.
I was like, this is how I'm going to spend my break. I got screaming inmates behind me. I got screaming inmates on Twitter now. Let's go. Like, let's do this. Like, so
it's wild and it's depressing and it's not, the bitch of it is that it's not at all surprising that they're I mean, honestly, this could be the best new Star Wars since Force Awakens, right? Give it a freaking chance. Like, and honestly, it's closer to what they all want. They all want the prequel stuff. These guys haven't grown up beyond the prequels, and apparently their dads were the ones who were beating up the prequels, saying, "Not my, George Lucas ruined my childhood." And now their backlash is to being assholes to the sequel fans. And this is I'm eagerly awaiting this series. I was not before. I was like, cool, more Star Wars, but now I'm like, June 5th, get here. For June 4th.
Yeah.
I said June 5th. It was off by a day. Whatever.
No, it just needs to get here. Like,
yep.
And this one from JD also kind of slides in with that one a little bit. The Phantom Menace is definitely no longer with just being toxic online. It feels like they are willing to do anything to attack anyone who supports Disney.
Yep.
And he's not wrong.
Yep.
Like a month and a half ago, I think it was Isabella Amidala that got destroyed online just because she voiced her opinion on something Disney. It was absurd.
Yep.
It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah. It's becoming uglier and uglier, and until YouTube makes a decision to address this sort of thing, it's just going to get worse and worse. I mean, there was some ugly shit from Geeks and Gamers with a Rey action figure. It was ridiculous. Yeah. And it's accepted. And the problem is, here's the thing. I know Theory and I know Geeks and Gamers, and those guys are probably not as malicious as they come across, but as long as there's money there, the problem is the danger lies in the people who follow them. It's not them. They're not the problem. They're the source of the problem.
It's who they incite.
It's who they incite. It's, we have friends like, well, I won't name names so that they don't get further bullshit, but we have friends who just get attacked for being a fan.
Yeah.
For being a fan, they're getting attacked and they can't enjoy their fandom. And that's, and again, the shame is, I do believe the Acolyte is going to be some of the most original, most creative, newest, exciting Star Wars we've had. And they're not willing to give it a chance, which is actually fine as long as they shut the fuck up. Because it's as we say all the time here, it's okay to not like something. You just don't have the right to be an asshole about it. And that's all it takes. That's all we're saying. So
pretty simple.
Anything else?
That's it. That sums that one up.
Well, all right. Well, guys, this has been a huge show for us today. Thank you all for hanging out. Those of you who are new, make sure to hit that subscribe button, that subscription number. We are inching our way ever closer to our goal. So please be a part of that. Hit that like and hit that subscribe and share it with a friend and tell a family member. And, Easter's coming. And while you're at the table with your grandmother who knows about Baby Yoda, but that's it, this might be a good show for her to watch. Probably not. probably not. Let's abandon that line of thinking. But anyway, thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. This has been a blast. Next week, we have Clayton Sandell and ST Bendy joining us to talk about that amazing Return of the Jedi book that I just showed you all. And we can't wait to talk to them. If you're a Return of the Jedi fan, you got to be here. I'm trying to cook up an idea and maybe do some sort of a Return of the Jedi trivia or something with us that night. But
I've already won it.
You got to read the fine print. Employees of the SSW network.
I quit. I'm already going to win that.
He's out. He's turning it in right now.
Well, that's a damn shame. But everybody, thank you again so much for hanging out. Hit that like, subscribe button. Tell a friend, tell a family member. Have some fun with us next Thursday. And follow us for all your Star Wars news and information. Nick, may the Force be with you.
Always.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend. Time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night, but not goodbye.